Hi guys, and welcome to Angling For You. Today you join me at the fantastic Fourways Fishery, and today we're on the lakeside pool. There's three pools. There's one to my left as I sit is the roadside, and the other side is the field side. They've got toilets on site as well, which is really good, but this one, like I say, is the lakeside. This has got the bigger of the inhabitants, but today realistically we're just going for a mixed bag of fish. Hopefully the odd tench, some nice sized silvers and bream, and maybe the odd carp thrown in there as a bonus fish. So what am I doing today? We're going to do the cage feeder. I'm using the block-ended end zone Daiwa feeder. Now you'll have might have seen it on social media. I put it on, and they look a little bit like distance feeders. We'll go into it when we obviously look at the kit, with the weight actually on the rim edge of the cage itself rather than just down the back. And that's for punching it out over far distances, but we're only going with the medium 30-gram one today, so we don't need any of that. But obviously the range goes up into bigger sizes, and aimed at obviously those distant bream fishing on big natural waters. So the mix I've got, it's not a specific mix. You know, if you find you've got a good explosive groundbait feeder mix, cage feeder mix, then go with that. That's not a problem. I'm just going to explain to you a little bit why I use what I've got next to me and what that is. So moving on to this one, this might not even be available anymore. This one's been stuck away in England's garage for a couple of years, but you can still get a derivative, which is just a brown crumb. Now we put the brown crumb in there, it fizzes away, it sits, and all fish like it. It's a good attractant, it's a good binder for the mix. So we're going to have probably half a bag of this to start off with, and it's easier if you get a big ground bait bucket to help you do this. Now to that, I like a ground bait that's got lots of flavour and a lot of fizz to go with the brown crumb. The brown crumb will float and waft about, which is great for attraction. But I've got some of this lake mix, and this lake mix is one of my favourite sort of silverfish ground baits. It's a classic Sensus one, and there's a lot of different types. This one here is just perfect for sort of silvers, carp. You know, it really is a sort of a coconutty, particle orientated bait. There's lots of stuff that are similar to it. It's quite a light bottom, so it's not too dark. Sometimes you go with a black dark ground bait for certain venues, but this one's quite light, and going with that crumb, it'll be the perfect kind of colour to match the bottom. Like I say, it smells awesome, and in there's probably a quarter of a bag. So realistically, we only need a quarter of a bag to this mix, and what we're trying to do there is fizz it up. We're just bringing that flavour in, but we want to just fizz that ground bait. So we've got the brown crumb, which will hang around in the bottom, and you know, attracting the fish. We've got that fizz from that lake mix, and then for a bit of bind and a bit of substance, just to get it down, and again, it'll bring a coloration to the water. We've got the trusty green swim stem, and again, we're going to go just half a bag into there. So the mixture itself, we're just going to give it a dry mix, and you can see it mixes in nicely, and you've got that little tinge of green, and you can see the flecks, and you've got that amazing smell of that lake mix. So we're going to wet it up first, and then we'll let it sit. We'll come back to it, we'll show you it, see if it needs a little bit more water, and then we've got a riddle to put it through. And you can go moderately heavy with the water when you've got brown crumb, because it does absorb a lot of water. And we want this feeder, with it being a cage, to get down to the bottom. It's got a lot of surface area, and the water will push the feed out even if it's heavier. So don't be worried about putting a little bit more in. That's why I've got the riddle. So you see, that looks like normally that it would be fine, but if you actually look, it is quite dry still, and you want it even wetter than that, because like I say, it's going to sit and absorb, and we will come back to camera and have a little look at that. So I'm just going to add a little bit more water to that. And it don't matter if it clumps even a little bit. Like I say, once you've got the riddle, I'm going to push it through that riddle, make sure you're getting all the edge of the bucket. See, now that is a lot stiffer ball. It still breaks down, but it's still a stiffer ball, and that's why we've got that binding swim stem in there. If you've just bran crumb, you'd find it very difficult to push it all together, and it will break up really quickly, but that's what we've got that green swim stem in there for. So come back to me in the magic of editing. It'll be a couple of seconds for you, and we'll see what the texture's like and then what we're going to do next. Right guys, so we've left it while we've set up, so it's around 15 minutes. If you now look, it doesn't hold together, it's dry, it falls to pieces, and that's exactly where the bread starts to absorb all that water. So we can go a little bit heavier again with the water, and it'll just bring it back to that perfect consistency. Like I said, because we're not putting it on a method feeder and it's going in a cage and it is explosive, it can be a little bit heavier than you would normally do for a method feeder. So perfectly comes together. What we're going to do now is pass it through the sieve. And these little kits are great if you want to do your ground baits, obviously the tubs and then the extra bits, and then obviously this fits on my box, which is a bonus. Always do it in parts, don't overfill it, so then it makes it more difficult. Just pick your bowl up and just shake it side to side, and what'll happen is all the fine bits will go through and leave you with the slightly overwetted bits. Just gently run them round. Add the last bit that you've got. And if you've not got a maggot riddle, I do really recommend, or a groundbait riddle, to get one. They just give you that finish to your groundbait, and you don't end up with any super wet spots. You get a nice consistent groundbait every time you fish, and they're not a lot of money. Just a riddle itself will be probably about 4 or 5 quid, and if you've got an old bucket, if you don't want to buy a specific bucket, then you can use one of them. There we go. Any of the real end bits, just tap them off, you don't need those. And then you're left with a beautiful crumb. That'll ball up nice, but it also breaks nice into a nice crumb, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So let's get on the box, we'll start some fishing, and we'll have a little bit of a look through the rig later on after we've had a few fish. Right guys, we're into the first fish. This one's on double maggots. I'm entirely sure what it is, but that's the whole idea of today. I made a little carp actually. It is a little carp. Nice little stocky carp. So I thought it was pulling a little bit strange for a silverfish. What a beautiful little carp. Absolutely fin perfect, this one. Let's get him unhooked. Oh, he's unhooked. Look at that. Beautiful fin perfect little carp. Let's get him back on the double maggot. Right guys, so what we're going to do is we'll have another couple more casts, but we'll explain how we're doing this, and obviously you've seen us go through the ground bait itself, and I'm going to go for the rigging it a little bit closer. At the moment I've got 2 maggots on. I'm just going to replace those. I always get into the habit of replacing your bait first before you're going to need to fill your feeder, because then, especially if you get anything like worms or maggots in it, they'll be dropping out while you're doing that. So the rig itself we'll go into in a bit of detail. We've got the ground bait at the side. I've put a little pinch of chopped worm, maggot, caster, pellet and hemp just in, and I'm just filling it up, and again we'll do a shot of this and go in a little bit closer and how we're doing that. We're not fishing to the island. It's always a good idea to cast out and feel the bottom, and what I've felt is that it's very shallow out under there. You can see if you look close in how, with all this hot weather we've had, the water level's a little bit down. So what I've done is I've come into a little bit deeper water, just off the ripple, and that's not been in sort of much more than 3 minutes, as I said, and it's gone round. We're just starting off simple. It's a water that I've never fished before, and cage feeder fishing can be really effective, and you can use a number of baits with it: corn, pellet, your worms, your casters and your maggots that you're using as well. You can use a number of baits. We've obviously got the maggots to start off with, it being a mixed fishery, and we're after a mixed bag today. We're not specifically targeting carp itself. We want to sort of see what's in there, and we managed to have a little baby carp on the first drop, which is pretty good. And that's, like I say, is just double maggot, and for me a maggot is a good searching bait. It catches everything that swims. I look forward back and then drop back by this maybe small silver. Oh, nothing. Yeah, a little silver, I think. Yeah, a nice little roach. So what we're going to do, since I've had that carp, I'm just going to get a disgorger for this one first, because it's swallowed it down. Typical silverfish. What I'm going to do is get this hook out first, and then we're going to try a little bit of worm. Well, this fish not want to give me a hook back. There we go. Nice little roach. Let's get back. We're going to try a little bit of a worm head. There's obviously a couple of fish straight away around that area getting those bites, but hopefully just putting a worm head will get us a little bit sort of bigger stamp, or a little small piece of worm gives a little bit bigger stamp. We've got a 16s hook, and the reason I've got a 16s hook is exactly for, like, obviously first drop we had that little carp, and the carp do go up to over 20 pound in here, and I want to make sure that if we did buy some miracle hook, something of that size, or certainly £5 or above, that we've got a little bit bigger hook to put some control over the fish. And like I said, this mixture, it's fantastic for drawing fish in quickly and then holding them. We've obviously got the particles in there to hold. We've got that swim stem, creates that haze along with that bread, and then the explosion of that sends us. It's just a great combination. And then, like you say, we've got those particles that are sat on the bottom, and that whole hold fish once they've been drawn in, as long as we're in around that same spot. And we've made that, well, the reason we made it that little bit wetter is so then it'll get down to the bottom before, you know, all coming out of the feeder. And that's why some there we go again, and that looks like it's probably going to be another one of those small little carp. Hopefully a little bite, that one. It's a little bit bigger than the last one, but nothing massive, I reckon. Oh, it's not. It's a foul looked silver after all that. It certainly went off like that carp bite did. So obviously there's a few fish there, and that one's just swam into the line and got itself side hooked. But it's still a positive because we're in the right area. We've got the fish moving. That's what we want. Like always, when you cast that feeder in, just make sure you're sinking the tip of the rod, sinking that tip straight away, and getting all that line off the surface. It's not windy at all actually today. There's actually a few carp moving over the top of that, so fingers crossed they'll smell it and get down and have a bite on that worm. But it's quite flat today, but still we have the tip of the rod really close to the water. We have the line sunk. All these are just general feeder things that you need to be doing. As soon as you hit the water, really, tip under, get that line out of the way, get a little bit of tension on the rod, not over tightened, nice and low to the water, and then you'll miss less bites. And just get into that rhythm when you're feeder fishing of doing that. Fishing with the Daiwa End Zone Z today. It's 11 meters, 11 foot. It's 10 foot set up today, and there we go. And I thought that there'd be a chance of hooking a carp at some point today, and that one's taken that. And I just said, didn't I, that they were topping over there, and that's actually what made me have a change of thought of casting it to the island. I saw that fish, those fish topping mid-water and swirling, and that's why I've chose that and the depth to look at getting those fish on there. And that's just using a little bit of your knowledge and just thinking about what you're doing and looking. You can see the island today, it's a little bit sunk, and you can see that parts of the undercut of it, which means obviously that it's quite shallow out there, and you just got to look for signs sometimes. And I threw a bomb out and had a little check first, and it's not taken long to lift into a carp. And like I said, today we're just looking at any fish. It's a mixed day, and it's all about the method, but it shows how easily you can get into these carp, even with a tactic that a lot of people see as a silverfish tactic. Feels like a good fish. Obviously we saw those fish moving out there, and that's why we've opted for chucking a bit shorter with the depth. Feels like a good fish, this. I'm just hoping that the landing net that I've got on for silvers is going to be big enough to put this fish in it, which might be an interesting situation, but we'll give it a go. And again, we're only fishing 5 pound line, and it's 0.17 bottom, because of obviously there is some good fish in here like this one. And it's quite a snaggy peg as well, this, so fingers crossed we can steer it away from those. But it's like a nice common. Like that, you just want to put your rod low, just let it go out, and then work at ringing it back. Fish like that, have you noticed that my rod is low, my rod is to the side? We're not got it above its head. You only want it above its head when you want to net it. So here we go. Here's a nice common. Beautiful looking fish through the water. That's a good size. I think we're closer to double figures. So this is going to be interesting, boys and girls. Getting in this net. Not entirely sure it's going to fit in that net. And we've just about got it into an F1 net. That is an interesting way of netting. And you're gonna have to be careful here because he's a good sized fish, and I don't want him to jump out and go everywhere, but well into double figures. And if he's gonna play a ball and let us pick him up, but we'll have a try. Definitely a good stamp fish. Well into double figures. Let's get him back in this ridiculously small net. Guys, another well, this one's quite small carp, I think. But this is particularly massive. Certainly bigger than that first little one. And I did I've seen a few nice fish in it swimming around, so hopefully there's a chance that we get into some a bit bigger later on. Let's keep that steady pressure on low. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to go to the opposite angle as which the fish is. So the fish is swimming to my left, so now my rod comes over to the right. Fish is now coming towards my right, my rod goes to the left. The important thing is never point directly at the fish and always try to put opposite angle on, and hopefully that's the best way of keeping a hold. Just beautiful action on this rod, really is. You got to remember these are good fish, and we're only on £5 line. You know, it's £5 Maxima, which if you watched last week's video is what I've gone back to using. £5 Maxima, 017 bottom of Pro Gen Pro. Got plenty and plenty of energy these carp. No point in rushing fish like this. It's a good fish. He's nearly ready. He's going to be a tight squeeze in this net, I think, but we'll give it a go. And some of you may have noticed that I haven't got my Garbolino net, and that's because I've got another net coming to review, the Daiwa Arity, and I've just got my River Sensus net with me. Oh, we're nearly in and out, and it is a little bit pokey, this boys, because this is an 18-inch landing net handle, as of expecting silverfish today, so it might be a bit of a shuffle. We'll do his best to get him in, and he is definitely a shuffle. Put that rod down. It's a beautiful looking common. It's a whacker. Great size fish. Just getting shuffled a little bit more into the net and we can get him knocked. Line just around his fins. Let's find out. See, and that's why we keep that pressure on. Hook's just come out in the net. Don't know if he's gonna behave for us. That's it. Great looking fish. Massive common. Just proves that this little cage feeder can do the business, even with these bit bigger fish instead of these smaller fish. And that time I actually flicked over to abandoned pellet, and this is what we mean about using the different hook links and different ways of fishing. So I've got pellets with me along with the other baits and the naturals. The first ones we've been having are maggots and worms, and I'm just changing around, and I've seen those fish moving and we've gone with that. So let's just flip round, have a look at the rigging close and see what it looks like. Right guys, so let's have a look at the gear and the tackle that we're using today. So starting off, we've had a few silvers, that small little carp, and then we just had that lovely fish into double figures. That is, I just switched to a single banded 8mm pellet. We started off, the hook link was 017 with a 16s hook with worm, and we've just managed to obviously catch a few littler ones and maggots, littler ones on that, and even including that small little mirror, and then I put that big sort of 8mm on when I've sort of seen a few signs out there and it's rattled off. So the rig itself, like we're on the direct end zone Z rod, so this is it's 10-foot capacity, not the 11. We've got the Dio Ninja reel there, which is a 3000, and only £5 Maxima line. That's all we need with these beautiful soft rods. So moving on to the business side. So we've got the rig itself. I'm going to come a little bit closer to camera to show you. So the rig itself is a little end zone feeder, and you can see it can slide between a little float stop there, down to a quick change bead. Now the feeder itself is one of the end zone range distance feeders. Now obviously this is only 30 gram, so it's not going to be going a lot of distance, but it's got the lead weight, which means it goes in that way and disperses your bait, but it's also perfect when you're casting at distance for sending the accuracy with the weight forward when you cast it, which makes it a lot easier. And obviously I've got that sort of 10 inches with a size 12, that is KKMB, to a band on this one, but we are utilising different baits, and we are going on to different baits just to see which we are favouring at the moment in time. I've been told there's a lot of carp here. Obviously we've had a few now, so there's obviously some here, and hopefully we'll have some more bigger ones later on. But yeah, I'm just going to alternate the bait and see what we catch throughout the day, and fingers crossed we have some more carp, maybe some skimmers or some smaller fish as well. All is welcome today. Like I said, it's an exploratory day where we're just coming and sort of catching whatever swims. So yeah, nice and easy setup. When I was saying about the £5 line, when you got soft rods, you don't need to go much heavier than that. I mean, that last fish was into double figures, and you know, we got it in as long as we set the drag right. We got that in with no problems. The only problem we had was getting in the landing net, because we weren't actually after bigger fish. So yeah, I'm going to continue. We'll get back to the peg. I'll show you how to load the feeder, and then hopefully we can hook into some more fish. Right guys, so start by putting always put your bait on first, whatever it is, even if it's a pellet. Get that bait on first, and then what we're looking at doing, so we've got a little bit of a hemp there, a little bit of caster, a little handful full of pellets. I'm just dropping some worms in there as well. Getting these scissors out. I'm just chopping those worms up. Not good to watch if you're a squeamish type, but we're not chopping them up too much. I'm just folding the groundbait over them, and then we can lift groundbait to it, and we're just pushing all that in, so it's got a nice mixed bag of goodies, and then we're just casting that out and we're ready to go. So we'll join you when we're sat back and you can see what's going on. Rod rest ragger, that was straight on that same spot, same 8mm pellet, and there's obviously a couple out there at least. And that absolutely just buried off there, off the rest. I thought I was going to actually have to take the clip off then. Start wallowing out there. Looks like another good sized fish. Another landing net tester, as we could say. Steaming bite that one. Oh my god. That's why you don't leave your rods unattended, guys. It's just not worth it. I've seen it so many times. I've also been myself one of those people that's done it. I'm lucky enough to not lose it. I was fishing a match, and it was a solid match, and it was winter time, and I'd had hardly any bites, and I thought I'll pack my pole away, there's only 10 minutes to end, and then my rod went and I heard it tapping, and I turned around and I just caught it before it went in water, so I was lucky. And I'm sure everybody's definitely been in that position at some point, so especially if you know there's big fish in here. Oh, and this one's a good fish. I don't think this is going to fit in net, if I'm honest. I might be calling for Glyn's landing net handle here. It's a great old paddle, that, isn't it? Oof. Nope. That's the thing, innit, when your net's just big enough. They've got to be done, haven't they, to get them in. He must be knackered. I am. Oh, that is a big fish. Right, I'm just going to put this rod out the way, boys, and we'll give him a lift up. That's a definite proper one, is that one. Let's get that rod out the way. He's a big boy, that lad. Now don't drop that pellet anywhere near water. What size are these fish? The paddle on this thing is monstrous. Boys, get yourself down to Fourways Fishery. Look at the size of that. He's a unit, boys. Absolute unit. Let's get him back in. See if we can have some more. Into another fish. Fighting a little bit like a smaller fish, this one. Maybe a skimmer or a good bream. Or it could be a small carp. Well, it's saying that there's tension here as well, so it could be a tench. I'd rather like a tench, that'd be nice. It's fighting so bizarre. It's a bit heavier now. It's got to be a carp. Nice bite again. It's fighting completely different, this one. I can only think it's a smaller carp, this one, guys. Yeah. So it looks like a smaller carp. And again, that we're on that 8mm pellet and with the exact same feed. And even these little ones still put the 2p in. Still strong fish. I think it's super small, but I don't think it's looking like the average in here is quite a good stamp. Definitely the right arm's getting a good old hammer in today, that's for sure. A good workout. The old forearm. And he's in. He's actually a little bit bigger than what I originally thought. Let's get some line pulled off, put that down, and the rest, we'll get him in. Like most of them have been today, it's not a bad stamp at all. It's a lot bit bigger fish than I originally thought it was. Lean and mean. And it's just pulled out, the hook's just pulled out the net. Let's get that out of the way. Or if he's gonna be sensible or not, I doubt it. Bit of a lively one, this one. But there you go. Another nice little common. And what started off today as a silverfish venture has quite quickly turned into a carp one. But it just shows it, how you can catch them, isn't it? It's, you know, you can catch with naturals and catch silvers on it and fish in the same bait, but obviously you can have them on the pellet as well. Let's get back out there and see what else is available. I don't think this one's a particularly massive one, guys, but it's fighting just as hard as the other ones do. And there's ours. Another good fish. Put some. Another good fish. Another a little bit giddy in the net, this one. Right. Find out where the hook is. Perfectly hooked in the bottom lip. Perfectly up there. Uh-oh. Number 12. Hook in there. Let's see if he's gonna play a ball. Another fantastic one to add to the collection of beauties that we've had today. Let's get him back. Right boys, I think it's time to finish on that one, and just showing you that you can fish with light gear, £5 line, light rods, and obviously light lines. It's only a 16s hook, and you know, the power of the worm, it can tame big fish like that, or you can have a little fish like we had earlier on. I hope this one has been good for you and you've learnt a bit, and we've been in depth with the bait and everything like that. Any other questions, just let me know. So any other videos you want to have a look at, if it's reviews or it's bait or it's different equipment or it's just features or challenges, just have a look on the playlist at Angling For You and find exactly what you want, and hopefully you'll get what you want. And if you don't, just hit us up and ask us if you want us to try something different. Join us on the Facebook group. There's a great community of over 3,000 people on there that are really in for giving information and helping everybody as we go along. And obviously the Instagram at angling_for you if it's just pictures and sharing where you're fishing and things like that. So thanks a lot for watching. Until the next one guys, ta lads.